What if I told you that a caveman could eat better than you? Not metaphorically, literally. Fresh meat killed this morning, wild honey straight from the hive, berries that nobody sprayed with pesticides, no palm oil, no preservatives with names you can't pronounce, no may contain traces of nuts on the packaging. Now add pizza to that. Yeah, pizza in the Stone Age. And no, this isn't clickbait. Well, okay, it's a little clickbait, but hear me out. First, let's figure out what pizza actually is at its core. Because most people think of pizza as this Italian thing. Neapolitan with mozzarella and basil and a waiter who says buonasera and gives you that look of quiet disappointment when you order pineapple. Strip all that away. What's left? Flat dough, something on top, baked over high heat. That's it. That's pizza at its most fundamental. Flat bread with toppings cooked in a hot oven. And here's where it gets interesting. Because flatbread with toppings cooked on a hot stone is not an Italian invention. It's not a Greek invention. It's not even really a human invention in the sense that someone sat down and designed it. It's just the logical result of having fire, grain, and something tasty nearby. People were doing this thousands of years before Italy existed, thousands of years before Rome, thousands of years before anyone had a word for pizza. They just didn't know that's what it was called. Let's start with the dough. And right away, dough in the Stone Age is its own side quest. Dough needs flour, flour needs grain, and grain as a cultivated crop doesn't exist yet because agriculture hasn't been invented. That's coming in a few thousand years, when some genius notices that seeds dropped in the ground in spring grow back in autumn. Until that discovery, no farms, no fields, no grain supply, but wild grain exists. Wild wheat, wild barley. They grew everywhere across the world long before humans started deliberately cultivating them. The problem was that harvesting them was painfully slow and tedious. Hunting a deer was much more efficient than spending all day collecting tiny seeds from wild grass. This is actually why agriculture took so long to be invented. Not because ancient humans were stupid, but because hunting and gathering genuinely worked. Why bother with a field when you can just go get food right now? You spend a few hours collecting wild grain from the grass nearby. Your fellow cavemen watch you with visible confusion. One of them is very deliberately eating a chunk of meat and making intense eye contact. You ignore him. Now you need to process the grain. Remove the tough outer husk. You put the seeds on a flat rock and grind them with another rock. Slowly, methodically, endlessly. This tool is called a grinding stone, and it's one of the oldest human tools ever discovered. People were doing this tens of thousands of years ago. Archaeologists can actually tell which ancient humans ate grain by looking at their teeth. The enamel is worn down in a specific pattern from all that gritty prehistoric flour. After removing the husks, you keep grinding until you have something resembling flour, not the fine white powder from the grocery store, more of a gray-brown gritty paste with tiny rock fragments mixed in, because the stone wears down slightly as you grind. Ancient bread literally crunched when you bit into it. Not in a pleasant artisan sourdough way, in a this is destroying my teeth way. Mix the flour with water. You get dough, dense, heavy, nothing like the airy stuff in a pizza restaurant. But dough, flatten it out. With your hands, with a smooth stone, with whatever you have. You want a thin, flat disc. The thinner it is, the more evenly it'll cook. Base ready. Now the sauce. And here we hit the first major problem. No tomatoes at all. Tomatoes are native to South America. Until Columbus in 1492, nobody in Europe, Asia, or Africa had ever seen a tomato. The classic margarita pizza with tomato sauce only became possible after Spanish conquistadors brought tomatoes back from the New World. Before that moment, no tomatoes anywhere in the Old World. When Italians found out about this historical fact, they were devastated. It's the culinary equivalent of telling the French that the croissant was invented in Austria. Technically true. Emotionally unbearable. Fine, no tomatoes. What do you have? Wild berries. Wild garlic. It grows across temperate climates and smells exactly like regular garlic because it is regular garlic. Wild onion, wild herbs, thyme, oregano, mint. All of these grew in Europe and Asia long before any culinary tradition existed. You make a sauce from crushed berries mixed with wild garlic and herbs. Sounds weird. Actually tastes like something between marinara and a cranberry meat sauce. Tangy, pungent, aromatic. Not what you expected, but it works. Spread it on the dough, now the toppings. And this is where the Stone Age unexpectedly wins. In the Stone Age, there's no supermarket salami, no pepperoni made from something you'd rather not think about, no watery canned mushrooms. What you do have is fresh meat killed today. Venison, wild boar, whatever you caught. You tear it into small pieces. Raw meat will cook directly on the pizza. Add thinly sliced wild onion, scatter wild herbs on top. A little salt if you found a salt deposit nearby. Now cheese. We already made primitive cheese in the ice cream video. Milk plus acid from berries gives you a simple, fresh curd. You crumble it over everything. You step back and look at what you've made. That is genuinely a pizza. Now the oven. This is the most underrated part of the whole video, and the most underrated part of pizza in general. Most people think the important parts of pizza are the dough, the sauce, the toppings. But real pizza makers, the people who do this professionally in Naples, will tell you the single most important element is the oven, the temperature. A proper Neapolitan wood-fired oven runs at 850 to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, pizza cooks in 90 seconds. 90. The outside is crispy. The inside is soft. The dough bubbles and chars at the edges. You cannot reproduce this in a home oven. The maximum temperature of most home ovens is around 500 degrees Fahrenheit. This is why homemade pizza never quite tastes like pizzeria pizza. It's not the recipe, it's the heat. In the Stone Age, you have no oven, but you have something that works just as well. Rocks, specifically flat stone slabs, flint, granite, basalt, any dense rock that absorbs and holds heat. You put flat stones directly in the fire and heat them for an hour. Stone heats up slowly but holds that temperature and releases it evenly for a long time. This is the same principle as the pizza stones that professional bakers still use in modern ovens, specifically to recreate the effect of a stone hearth. Some of the best pizza restaurants in the world still cook on stone surfaces for exactly this reason. You pull the superheated stone out of the fire, carefully, using other rocks as tools because this thing will destroy your hands. You slide the pizza onto the hot surface. You cover it with another hot rock so heat comes from both above and below simultaneously. 90 seconds at the temperature of a fire-heated stone is roughly equivalent to a wood-fired Neapolitan oven. The dough bubbles, the meat sizzles, the cheese starts to melt, the smell carries across the entire camp. And here's where something unplanned happens. The smell of pizza is a serious thing. It's one of the most powerful smells a human can produce while cooking. Hot bread, caramelizing onion, sizzling meat, herbs opening up under heat. The entire camp starts slowly drifting toward you. That guy who was demonstrably eating meat and making aggressive eye contact while you collected grain for 3 hours, he's the first one to show up. He stands there, stares at the hot stone, sniffs the air, looks at you. You take the pizza, hot, crispy at the edges, with melted cheese and browned meat. Tear off a piece and hold it out to him. He eats it, says nothing, chews slowly. Then he looks at the grinding stone, at the hot rocks by the fire, back at you. He turns around and walks away. You think you've somehow offended him. 20 minutes later, he comes back, with 3 other people. Each of them is carrying something. One has fresh game, one has berries, one found some herbs somewhere. They put everything in front of you, and they wait. That's when you realize what just happened. They don't just want more pizza. They want to learn how to make it. That's how culinary culture started, not from restaurants and cooking schools. From one person who made something delicious, and suddenly became the most important person in the cave.